Unmasked, where the shadows of history reveal their darkest secrets. I'm your host, Sierra Elizabeth. As a criminal justice and criminology graduate, I've always been drawn to the mysteries that lurk beneath the surface of everyday life. This podcast is dedicated to uncovering and discussing the truth behind some of the most chilling and intriguing cases in true crime history. In each episode, we'll deep dive into a different case, exploring the evidence, unraveling the clues, and bringing you the stories of the victims and the relentless pursuit of justice. From infamous serial killers to unsolved mysteries, no case is too complex or too obscure for me to tackle. For the first episode, I wanted to dive into a case that I feel hasn't been widely discussed, a case that hit close to home and has stuck with me ever since. Join me as we unveil the crime and delve into the mind of a criminal. This is Evil Unmasked. Let's begin. Jessica Ridgeway was born on January 23, 2002, to Jeremy Bryant and Sarah Ridgeway. Shortly after she was born, her parents separated and her father relocated to Missouri. Jessica remained in Westminster, Colorado, living with her mother and grandmother on Moore Street. Her grandmother and aunt played a significant role in her upbringing, supporting her mother, who worked a graveyard shift at a tech company. This allowed her mom to be there for Jessica before and after school. In 2012, Jessica was a vibrant fifth grader at Witt Elementary School. She was an enthusiastic member of the junior cheerleading team and was signed up to participate in the Stanley Lake Pee Wee Cheer Clinic. Known for her outgoing and energetic personality, Jessica was also remarkably independent. She had a deep love for animals, sharing her home with a dog, 2 fish, and 2 frogs. Jessica was a caring and joyful girl, with purple being her favorite color. On the cold, snowy morning of October 5th, 2012, Sarah, Jessica's mom, returned home from her night shift at 7:30 a.m. They began their usual morning routine, which included watching TV, eating breakfast, getting dressed, and packing Jessica's school snack. Concerned about the weather, Sarah advised Jessica to change from her leggings into jeans to stay warm during her walk to school. Jessica left the house wearing blue jeans, a black puffy jacket with pink lining, black boots with pom-poms, and carried a black and pink backpack adorned with characters from the show Victorious. Jessica left for school around 8:30 a.m., while her mom went upstairs to sleep, leaving her phone downstairs. To get to school, Jessica would make the first part of her journey alone, walking a block down the road to meet with her friend Jeremy. Together, they would walk about 3 more blocks to meet up with a larger group of kids who would walk the rest of the way together. The entire trip from Jessica's house to the school was approximately 1.3 miles. At 10:11 a.m., Jessica's school called Sarah and left a message to report her absence that day. When Sarah woke up around 4:30 p.m., she immediately sensed something was wrong because Jessica was not home yet. Rushing downstairs, she checked her voicemail and panicked upon hearing the message from the school, informing her that Jessica had not shown up. This was highly unusual for Jessica, who was a good student with good grades. Sarah made several calls, including one to Jessica's friend Jeremy's house. Jeremy confirmed that he had spoken to Jessica early that morning when she called to confirm their plans to walk to school together. She had called him at 8:25 a.m., and he waited for her until 8:40 a.m. But when she didn't show up, he worried he would be late for school and left without her. Sarah's next phone call was to the Westminster Police Department. You can hear the distraught in her voice as she explains the nightmare to the operator.
My daughter's missing. I guess she never made it to school this morning.
How old's your daughter?
She's 10.
Officers arrived within minutes, but had already been 8 hours since she was last seen. Jessica had vanished shortly after leaving her house at 8:30 a.m., failing to meet her friend as planned. This pinpointed her disappearance to a narrow 10-minute window between 8:30 and 8:40 a.m. within a block of her home. An Amber Alert was issued at 9 p.m., a staggering 13 hours after she was presumed kidnapped. Desperate and determined, her family plastered missing persons flyers everywhere. On October 6th, an extensive search was conducted in the areas between Wadsworth Parkway, Indiana Street, West 92nd Avenue, and West 112th Avenue. The search involved 50 officers from the police and sheriff's department, alongside 800 volunteers. They utilized dog teams, thermal imaging, and aerial observation to comb the area. Helicopters provided aerial surveillance, divers scoured nearby bodies of water, and search dogs tracked her scent, while thermal cameras were used to detect body heat. The police initially suspected her parents, focusing specifically on her father, Jeremy. He had recently filed for custody and was on probation for second-degree domestic assault for choking his girlfriend. However, the FBI quickly ruled him out as a suspect, confirming that he had been at work in Missouri during the time of the disappearance. Despite 2 days of extensive searching, no clues or suspects emerged. On October 7th, a couple in Superior, Colorado, about 15 miles northwest of Westminster, were driving home after midnight when they spotted a large paper bag at the corner of Andrew Drive and Alpha Court. Initially, they didn't think much of it, but the next morning, the man and his neighbor decided to investigate after realizing the bag was still there. Inside, they discovered a pink backpack with a keychain bearing the name Jessica. Upon opening the backpack, they found a water bottle labeled Jessica Ridgeway. Additionally, the bag contained folded clothes, black boots with pom-poms, prescription glasses, and a wooden stick. The man posted a message on an online bulletin board, including a photo of the found items and a note that read, quote, "Found this morning on the sidewalk at Andrew Drive and Alpha Court. The water bottle has the name Jessica Ridgeway on it. Come and get it." End quote. Someone responded, noting that the name on the water bottle matched that of the missing girl. Upon receiving this information, the man immediately called 911. The bag was discovered 34 hours after Jessica had gone missing. Authorities quickly swarmed the area, conducting a thorough search of the neighborhood for additional evidence, but they did not locate Jessica. Interviews with local residents revealed that the bag had likely been left there on October 6 between 7 and 10 p.m. The bag and its contents were sent to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation for further analysis. On the backpack, they found Jessica's DNA along with a second unidentified DNA profile. They ran this second profile through CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System, while continuing their search for suspects. The police interviewed 2 registered sex offenders living 2 doors down from Jessica, who granted permission to search their property, but nothing linked them to the crime. Additionally, a tip reported seeing Jessica in a station wagon with Colorado plates in Maine, but this turned out to be a false lead. On October 10th, the second DNA profile found on Jessica's backpack came back with a match. Although there was no identification associated with the profile, it was linked to another crime. On May 28, 2012, around 1:15 p.m., a 22-year-old woman went jogging near Kettner Lake in Westminster, Colorado. While enjoying her run, she was suddenly attacked by a male suspect who grabbed her from behind and attempted to cover her mouth with a rag soaked in an unknown substance. He dragged her into the underbrush near the trail, and they struggled as she made a mental note of her attacker. Fortunately, she managed to fight him off and escape, immediately calling 911. She described her attacker as a white male between the ages of 20 and 25, about 5'7" to 5'9" inches tall, with an average build. Police arrived and searched the area, but could not locate the attacker, who remained unidentified. Detective Michael Lynch collected the woman's shirt and submitted it to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation laboratory for analysis. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation developed a full DNA profile from an unknown suspect, which would later match, you guessed it, the DNA profile found on Jessica Ridgeway's backpack. On October 10th, 2 county workers collecting garbage in a Partridge open space about 10 miles west of Westminster discovered a large, heavy black garbage bag. Unable to lift it, one of the men decided to open it, only to find another trash bag inside. They cut open the second bag and, to their horror, found a small, headless torso. The men immediately called 911. Forensic analysis confirmed that it was the dismembered body of a young female. Clumps of blonde hair were also found outside of the bag. After 2 days, the remains were positively identified as Jessica's. During the autopsy, a small 1 by 1.5 inch wooden cross was found placed inside of her vagina. The cross had 3 carved notches on it. There was also additional evidence of sexual assault. A multi-jurisdictional, multidisciplinary task force was mobilized to uncover those responsible for Jessica Ridgeway's disappearance and murder, as well as the earlier attempted kidnapping and assault of the jogger. Investigators contacted and interviewed several hundred homes near Jessica's residence. Numerous individuals were identified as potential suspects, and DNA samples from hundreds of people were collected and analyzed by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, yielding no matches. In a press conference, law enforcement urged the community to remain vigilant for any suspicious behavior, such as sudden changes in appearance or demeanor that could provide critical leads in the case. On October 17th, FBI agents Weiss and Holmes conducted a neighborhood canvass, visiting the Siggs residence located just a mile from the Ridgeway home. They approached Mindy Sigg and requested to speak with her and her family inside. Mindy, who had been closely following the case, welcomed them in without hesitation. After questioning Mindy and her sons, Austin and Dustin, the officers found no cause for suspicion and departed. 2 days later, on October 19th, a concerned neighbor of the Siggs reached out to FBI agent Chris Calarco, leaving a message regarding suspicions about Austin Sigg. This neighbor, who had previously spoken with officers during the neighborhood canvassing, wished to remain anonymous. They expressed unease about Austin for several reasons, including his attendance at mortuary school and a public fascination with death. The caller recounted a conversation with Mindy Sigg, who reportedly joked about Austin's interest in body decomposition, disposal, and DNA. Describing Austin's behavior as peculiar, the caller also noted seeing him wear a cross similar to the one found with Jessica's torso. Following this new lead, FBI agents DeFrame and Longoria revisited the Sigg residence to speak with Austin. They requested his cooperation in providing a DNA sample, to which he agreed. Using a buccal swab, his DNA was collected and subsequently analyzed through CODIS. However, the results revealed no match to the DNA from the two cases under investigation. Austin Sigg, born on January 17, 1995, in Colorado, grew up with parents Robert and Mindy Sigg and a younger brother named Dustin. His parents eventually divorced due to Robert's temper and extensive criminal history, which included charges ranging from bank fraud, domestic violence, and assault. Following the divorce, Robert had minimal contact with his sons. After leaving high school in his junior year, Austin obtained his GED and pursued studies at Arapahoe Community College, focusing on mortuary science with aspirations of becoming a forensic scientist, driven by his fascination with morbid subjects. According to Dustin, Austin once made a disturbing comment about his studies, mentioning that he was learning how to, quote, kill people and get away with it, end quote. When Austin was 12 years old, his mother caught him watching violent porn, also known as hurtcore or torture porn, and he was sent to get help. Well, sort of. When a child is watching this type of porn, they should be in serious counseling. Austin was instead sent to a religious camp, but these types of violent sexual fantasies and pedophilia can't simply be fixed with prayer, and when he returned from his short time at the camp, his porn habits escalated and he began seeking out more and more violent videos. Before long, he was watching snuff films and videos depicting human dismemberment. A psychiatrist described a list of porn categories he was watching, mostly involving girls being tortured and raped, girls screaming in pain, and raping and killing. Austin would also visit websites such as ripherup.com, bestgore.com, among many others. It was also later revealed that Mindy and Austin would practice restraining each other with zip ties. After the police collected Austin's DNA, he began to panic, believing that they were closing in on him. When Austin's mom returned home from work on Monday, October 23rd, she could tell that something was bothering him. When she asked him what was wrong, he looked at her and said, "Mom, I am a monster." Austin confessed to her that he was responsible for the abduction, murder, and dismemberment of Jessica Ridgeway. Austin described the gruesome scene of cutting her body up in the bathtub with a saw that he had retrieved from their garage, admitting that some of her remains were still inside the house. Mindy knew that she had no choice but to call the police and dialed 911 at approximately 7:31 p.m. The first operator did not take her seriously, believing Mindy was making some sick joke. Mindy then spoke to a second operator, who promptly sent officers to the Sigg home and asked for more details.
Hi, this is Molly at Westminster Police. Can I help you?
Hi, I need you to come to my house. My son wants to turn himself in for the Jessica Ridgeway murder.
Okay, what's the address?
10622 West 102nd Avenue.
And what's going on there? Ma'am,
Not hear me? He just confessed to killing her.
I know. I want you to tell me what's going on. Can you tell me exactly what he said?
But he did it, and he gave me details, and her remains are in my house.
Did you see them?
No.
The operator then asked if Austin would be willing to speak to her, and he agreed. Although he became frustrated when she continued asking him questions, stating that officers needed to come to his residence immediately.
Hello?
Is this Austin?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Austin. This is Molly at the Westminster Police Department.
Hi.
Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on right now, or how you're feeling, or how did this come about?
I don't exactly get why you're asking these questions. I murdered Jessica Ridgeway.
Okay.
I have proof that I did it. There is no other question. You just have to send a squad car, something down here, and
Right.
I will answer all the questions that you want to ask, or anyone wants to ask of me as soon as you got to get down here.
Despite his frustration, he continued speaking to the operator, disclosing that Jessica's remains were in the crawl space beneath his house. Concerned for the officer's safety, the operator inquired about weapons or animals inside the house. During their conversation, when asked about his criminal record, he also confessed to the attack on the jogger at Kettner Lake. "I can't help but wonder what Mom was feeling during all of this. It must be so hard as a parent to have to turn your own son in for such a heinous crime." Westminster police officers Rob Phelps and A.C. Stuston responded to the scene and secured written consent from Mindy Siggs to search the residence and examine the crawl space. While Officer Phelps conducted the search, Officer Stuston formally read Austin his Miranda rights and placed him under arrest. Austin showed no resistance or emotion and complied calmly. During the search of the crawl space, Officer Phelps made a chilling discovery: multiple black garbage bags containing Jessica's severed head, arms, and legs. Austin was taken back to the Westminster Police Station for questioning. During his interview, he chillingly admitted that on October 5th, he had cruised around the streets with the sole purpose of finding a woman to abduct, and this wasn't his first time. Quote, "Anytime I would even see someone out walking while I was in one of those modes, my heart would instantly start racing," end quote.
And you drove over to Jessica's neighborhood. What were you planning on doing that day?
I had the intent of picking up any female that came across where I was. That it didn't matter what time, where, it just anything.
So you were out, for a better word, hunting?
Yeah, that's the only word I could think of. Every time that I would even see someone walking while I was out in one of those modes, my heart would just instantly start beating really fast, and I couldn't think straight. I don't know.
Was that some of the thrill that you got by going out and doing this? Was there a thrill aspect to it?
I've been trying to figure that out for a while now.
His target became clear when he parked his gold Jeep on Jessica Ridgeway Street after spotting her walking alone. Once she walked past his car, he dragged her into the vehicle and bound her with zip ties to immobilize her. To stifle her cries, he offered false reassurances, knowing her fate was sealed. He aimlessly drove around for 30 minutes, navigating random turns until arriving at his family home, shared with his mother and younger brother.
Go on and tell me what happened after you grabbed her.
She screamed and I told her to be quiet, and I used zip ties to zip tie her hands and legs together, and then I hopped in front of my car. I would lie to her. I would tell her that everything was going to be okay, and I would just lie to her.
He parked his Jeep in the garage and closed the door behind him. Removing the zip ties from her hands, he carried her upstairs to his bedroom, where he sat her on the bed and played cartoons on Netflix to calm her. He instructed her to change into the clothes he had laid out in the bathroom, black shorts and a white t-shirt. When his attempt to strangle her with zip ties failed due to the pain they caused his hands, he resorted to using his bare hands to end her life. After 3 minutes, he wasn't sure if she was dead because she was still twitching. To ensure that she was dead, he placed her face down in the bathtub and filled it with water. Once he was sure that she was dead, he began to dismember her body in the bathtub using a sawzall and a utility knife. He removed one of her hands and one of her feet, cutting them into pieces and flushing parts of them down the toilet. He emptied the organs out of Jessica Ridgeway and flushed them down the toilet in his bathroom. Once he had successfully dismembered her, he placed her body parts in garbage bags and put them in the shed by the pool. However, the next night, due to a heavy police presence in the area, he drove to a neighborhood in Superior with her backpack and a few other belongings. He explained that the purpose of placing the backpack in the northern neighborhood was to try and divert police from searching his residence. He had also thrown away the coat that she had been wearing in a random trash can, as well as the blade from the sawzall. A few days later, he decided to get rid of her torso because the police were using cadaver dogs and thermal imaging. He retrieved the torso from the pool shed, washed it a second time, inserted the wooden cross into her vagina, placed it into 2 black trash bags, and tied the handles of both bags together. He drove to Partridge Open Space and disposed of the bag. When he returned home, he moved the rest of her body parts into the crawl space of his house. Austin admitted that he had placed the cross in her vagina to try and lead investigators to believe that there was a religious motivation for the crime. During questioning, he also confessed to assaulting the jogger months earlier. He had researched how to make chloroform online, mixing bleach and acetone and saturating a rag with it. Recalling the incident, he recounted how the jogger initially passed him without incident, but on her return, he grabbed her from behind. When questioned about his intentions with the jogger, he chillingly remarked, quote, "Do to her what I did to Jessica," end quote. Austin guided detectives to the spot where he abducted Jessica, pinpointing the precise location where he parked and waited for her to approach his vehicle. He then directed them to where he disposed of her torso on 82nd Avenue and provided details on the location where he discarded her backpack. At this point, you're probably wondering the same thing that I was. Why didn't the DNA match? Hours into Stig's interview, investigators learned that his sample had been lost in a batch and hadn't yet been tested. Once his DNA was retested, it was a positive match to both cases. In addition to this, a thorough investigation of his house revealed plenty of evidence, including another matching cross, Jessica's hair, zip ties, used and unused latex gloves, garbage bags, 2 PCs, and 3 hard drives, which all had child pornography on them. Austin was charged with the following crimes: 4 counts of murder in the first degree, 2 counts of second-degree kidnapping, 3 counts of crime of violence, 1 count of sexual assault of a child, 1 count of second-degree kidnapping, 1 count of attempted first-degree murder, and 1 count of attempted sexual assault. At the time he was charged with these crimes, he was just 17 years old, with his 18th birthday still 2 months away. Nevertheless, he was tried as an adult. In court, his defense contended that both incidents were spur-of-the-moment actions. However, a psychiatrist testified that the evidence clearly indicated premeditation. Prior to attacking the jogger, Austin had researched how to make chloroform and discussed potential disposal sites, such as the sulfur pits in the mountains. In Jessica Ridgeway's case, he had come prepared with zip ties, underscoring his premeditated intent. He revealed to the court that the kidnapping was a result of him acting out his sexual fantasy, and dismembering her body was also for his sexual gratification. To confirm this, Anna Salter, a woman who studies sex offenders, stated that he had no empathy for Jessica. She stated that he was sexually aroused by dismembering her body, and added that he may have been trying to fulfill a sexual fantasy when he had cut her hair and forced her to change her clothes. Austin initially pleaded not guilty, but changed his plea to guilty just 2 days before the trial. During his sentencing hearing, the prosecution contested the notion that Jessica Ridgeway was a random victim, presenting evidence that Austin had intentionally gone to the abduction site precisely when she would be there. He strategically parked his car where she would cross the street, suggesting prior observation. Austin received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 40 years for Jessica Ridgeway's abduction and murder. In addition, he was sentenced to 86 years for the attempted rape and murder of the jogger. He showed no emotion as the judge handed him his sentence. Because he was 17 at the time of Jessica Ridgeway's murder, he was ineligible for the death penalty. A close friend of the Ridgeways, Scott Fiskell, was interviewed, and he stated that, quote, "A part of me died that cold October day in 2012, end quote. Thank you for joining me on this first episode, where we dove into a truly disturbing case. The details of Jessica Ridgeway's abduction and tragic death are beyond comprehension. The realization that she had passed away before her mother even knew to call 911 is absolutely heartbreaking. I am also fully convinced that Austin would have turned out to be a serial killer if he was not caught. Despite the darkness of this story, there are moments of light. A park in Westminster, where Jessica once played, stands as a memorial to her memory. Etched into its features are some of her favorite knock-knock jokes, a gentle reminder of the bright spirit that she was. Join me next time on Evil Unmasked as we continue to explore cases that resonate deeply with us, shedding light on both the darkness and the resilience that emerge in their wake. If you have any case suggestions, questions, or anything else, please visit evilunmasked.com.